interrupting your scheduled broadcasting for a very special announcement.
Kia ora everybody, I'm JumboPixel, and alongside 5 talented people, I've been invited by Amplitude Studios to participate in the Push Humankind Too Far Creators Challenge. The challenge, as you can see on screen, is to see which person can trigger the pollution end condition the fastest. There are various challenges involved, as well as some side quests, but at the end of the day, it's about who can burn the world. It'll run from April 11th until April 17th, and the people who you saw on screen will be streaming it to their respective channels. I'll link them all down below. I'd highly recommend you check it out. There are prizes involved for the winning community, the winning creator. It's very exciting, including Humankind game keys, DLC keys, and loads of other stuff. Let's discuss the challenge itself, the rule set, how it will look. Okay, first and foremost, the challenge must be played on a custom map for Humankind. It is indeed a custom Huge Earth map created by Oscar3005. You may have seen me play on this one before. I'm showing you on screen right now how to download it if you'd like to download it yourself. In terms of the restrictions for the actual map itself during this challenge, we'll be required to spawn on either the Europe, Egypt, or Southeast Asia land spawn. The only other requirement that's not specifically to do with the spawn is that we're not allowed to use nukes to accelerate global pollution, but everything else is on the table, and I'll cover that in a little bit. Now, aside from the map, there are, of course, a number of actual game setup conditions that must be met. But one other thing to note is that the game timer, i.e. the number of turns it takes us to burn the world, won't start until we cross the industrial era. Here you can see me on screen crossing into the industrial era in a previous game. So there could be some strategizing, some min-maxing to be had here. Maybe stalling it out and waiting for the last minute until you've got everything in order. I'm not sure, but I would like your feedback, by the way, because the winning community really does win here. So please do share your strategies below and in the members Discord as well, if you're one of our members. Moving swiftly along, there are, of course, other required settings. Okay, once we've got the map checked, what's next? Well, of course, we need to look at competitors, game pace, and difficulty. Amplitude have said that the difficulty must be set at nation level, which is 1 above standard. The pacing will be set to Blitz mode, and of course, because this challenge is about the pollution threshold, I'm assuming, although I will just quickly double check that before we begin the actual challenge, that the pollution threshold is the only end condition for this challenge. Nation difficulty, as I say, and 10 competitors are required to fill up this huge Earth. Again, there's likely some strategizing involved here. There are currently no preconditions set on which AI we need to fight. Some AIs are much more powerful than others, so maybe, again, a little bit of strategy involved. There are also side challenges, which Amplitude have set, which will reward us with some extra points. However, it's important to note that ultimately the winner will be determined by the person who can burn the world the fastest, who can reach that crucial pollution threshold first, once they've reached the industrial era. Okay, there's our administration out of the way. Now let's talk about the actual challenge itself. It is, of course, all about pollution, right? We need to pollute the world as fast as we can. General recommendations that were provided by Amplitude were to go full builder mode. This does make sense. They also note that each maker's quarter can give us up to +8 pollution retroactively, so once we've moved through into the industrial era, providing that we have the right city infrastructures in place. I'll show some of those on screen while I'm talking. There are, of course, a load of other things that we can use to lift up pollution, but also remove it, right? It's important to note that some of the later game technologies and infrastructures can actually play against me. So I'm going to have to be very careful when I approach this challenge, and indeed maybe when you approach it as a community member. Amplitude may have more to say on that in future, down the line. Other things that I'll be looking out for, of course, are trains, aerodromes, airports, and coal, right? Coal, industrialization. Maybe you could access more coal, maybe I could access more coal by trading for it, by improving it, by fighting my opponents and claiming it. There are loads of ways that we're going to be able to tinker with the pollution, and I would be lying if I said I was across them all. The pollution system has a bit of depth to it, and it has changed a bit since the game first came out. I'm feeling somewhat confident in my abilities because I've played Humankind, but you saw the roster at the start of this video. These are some skilled, powerful, clever people, and I am, not gonna lie, probably a little bit out of my depth. Either way, that's the challenge in a nutshell and some of my early thoughts and feelings. Again, like I say, as you see me sort of move through the tree here to try and figure out all the different things that I could be enacting, I'd love your feedback. This is a community challenge, which brings me to my next point, the rewards. Amplitude have put together, and the team behind Humankind have put together a very generous roster of rewards for the top 3 participants in the challenge. We'll be rewarded ourselves with a $100 to $20 or as low as $25 Sega gift store code, but crucially, the community really takes stuff home. The number 1 winner at the moment will receive 5 keys to give away for Humankind, 5 keys to give away for the Culture of Africa DLC, some merch voucher, a merch voucher, 1 at the very least, to give away, and potentially even a Sega catalog key, or depending on where you place, maybe you place 2nd or 3rd, game keys for some of Sega's other games outside of Humankind. Once the prizes have been officially announced, I'm sure that Amplitude will share them on their Twitter, and I would direct you towards their Twitter or their social medias just to really get a grip with everything that they're announcing, because that will be the best place to find it. Again, I'll link that below in the description. Now, we know that there are prizes in store. We know that, unfortunately, it does rely on me a little bit in order to win them. And we know that the roster that we're competing alongside is a fairly talented roster of content creators. So how are we going to play this through, and what's my plan? First and foremost, you will have seen at the start of the video that this challenge will run from the 11th of April until the 17th. At the time of recording, that's next week. I'll be streaming next week. I will let you know as soon as I can the date where I'll be officially attempting this challenge. It'll likely be somewhere around the middle of the week, just because that works the best for me. Again, I'll share that on Twitter, and I'll also share it here on YouTube on the YouTube channel community page as well. So if you want to follow along and you want to keep up and join me live for the challenge, I'd recommend you check that out. Now, with some closing thoughts here toward this last part of the video, I think that this is going to be a really interesting one. Because it's done live, I think that's brilliant. There'll naturally be a little bit of, oh dear, this AI randomly attacked me, that could get in the way, right? Little things like that. I think that also, in my experience, there is a need to not forget about science, because some of the technologies in the game are going to be really key in order to get to those later infrastructures, to get to those later buildings, like the train stations or the airports even, right? There's definitely going to be a need to still have technology. Another thing to note is that some food quarters can also provide pollution at +3, and of course we're going to need population to fill jobs to keep growing. I think that I'm going to try a full builder send it mode and just spam the world full of makers' quarters. Influence and stability is another thing that's on the back of my mind. If the Empire becomes too unstable, will I be able to pull off the challenge? Pollution naturally leads to an instability, so there could also be workarounds in the civics tree to try and get around that. Either way, perhaps I should play the rest of my cards close to my chest, not really in my nature, and I've probably already revealed my hand. However, I'm going to end this video here. Hopefully, you're as excited as I am about this announcement. I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the wonderful Amplitude Studios team behind Humankind for inviting me to participate and for organizing all of this. Huge shout out to them and their generosity. And I'll see you live next week as we give this a go. Take care, everybody. I'll see you then.